Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Empower.
Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, welcome to the Rosbifs Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, the top 14, Pro de Nationale, brilliant towns, cities, bars, cuisine, and amazing fans, and frankly, everything else in between. I'm Richard, and we've got plenty to get through this week. All of the aforementioned leagues, all of the aforementioned people, maybe a little bit less on the food and drink this time, but there'll be enough time for that. Speaking of food and drink, we have just had a slight false start. My colleague Rob interrupted the initial introduction, taking a very, very large and what sounded like a very refreshing swig on his non-alcoholic beer. How was it? It sounded great.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah. Tuesday evening here, so non-alcoholics all round. But my God, it is a grim Tuesday evening, isn't it? We need something to warm the soul, and there is nothing more warming than the thought of a trip to the south of France to watch some rugby, and just the sunny climes and some very, very flair rugby being played.
You sound a little bit like, ironically, because last weekend you obviously did, or last time we recorded this, you had just come back from a weekend in the south of France. You do sound a little bit like you've been screaming in the stands, you've been partaking in beer pesh, you've been smoking a few little gitanes behind the terraces. What's going on?
Well, maybe I brought the essence of the south of France to Malden Wanderers Cricket Club on Saturday. I think of half pint in, just shouting from the sidelines as though there was a few allées as well. As we watched the third 11 after our game finished, we attempted to recreate bière pêche with different flavoured soju, which was a pretty swift way to a pretty dangerous night, I think. Using a 14% rice wine to flavour your beer is probably not the safest option. But I think it was actually just kind of the last. It's the kind of post-flight snivels that have seemed to have lingered. Either that or I've got COVID, so we'll soon find out.
Certainly will. Shout out for the soju as well. Not often that gets a mention in French circles. Maybe we'll the listeners will understand why soju at some point during the course of these
I think just to kind of dive before we dive into the weekend, we both played cricket on Saturday, and we didn't watch any rugby, and we're actually reviewing the last day of the English Premiership. Like, we are very good at championing how mad, and my God, this week was mad, certainly in Pro D2, how mad French rugby is. But it was a pretty mad weekend of English rugby, which our teams played against each other. I have kind of lost interest in the Premiership over the last few weeks because Leicester seem to have lost interest in it as well. But some pretty hectic results. So just a tip of the hat that, it's not just French rugby that's mad. However, the fact that the league is still so close after 30 games in Pro D2 compared to 18. People are like, the Premiership is so close. Like, yeah, because it's like saying a T20 is closer than a Test match because it's just over a shorter period. Like, it's always going to be short. It's always going to be closer. But yeah, certainly some wild rugby all round, which we were digesting with some turbocharged beers.
That's how the Turbo Shandy nearly made a comeback, but not to be this week. Let's go straight for it. Top 14 and some real, if not movement, some confirmation. A few things rubber stamped this week. Sadly, Oyonnax, they've been teetering on the brink, but just about hanging in there for grim death. Their fate, they'll be back in Pro D2 next year. They lost at home to Toulon, didn't they? Put up like a kind of half decent fight, but ultimately, I think like quite a lot of their season, they certainly haven't disgraced themselves. They've looked really good at points, play some good rugby, physical, but yeah, they're done. They are Romeo done. I'm sure they'll be back, not least because they've signed someone who I think we'll mention a little bit later. Also at the bottom, which is, I mean, on the surface, first beating 13th is not such a big deal. But Montpellier will be in the access match. That's confirmed, which more recently we've known it was likely. Start of the season, I mean, this is a team that you thought had signed well. They binned off. God, I've already forgotten his name. Who's the coach who got let go before they brought in Laporte earlier in the season?
Cockers. Richard Cockrell.
Of course it was. Yeah, of course it was. The man with the non-Midas touch, obviously. They lost to Toulouse. Toulouse sent the under-9s. So, I
counted 6 names that I'd never seen before in that Toulouse team, or 6 names that I genuinely knew nothing about, and that was despite the fact that you look at guys like Kelvin Gorge, who played a bit of France under-20s, and I saw him earlier in the season, so I was not counting him in the 6. But that's an 18-year-old fullback / centre that's played a couple of professional games. There were 6 names there. I'm not going to go delve into them, but it was just, that was kind of a real kids. It was that was a C team. That wasn't even a B team.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, looking at the side that have won it, I reckon maybe 2 of them. So context obviously is Toulouse travelled to North London on Saturday for the Champions Cup final. So they've rested a few there, but I reckon maybe 2 of the squad from Saturday play. So Castro Ferreira, who I know you've long touted as some player, and he was fucking unbelievable again. But you'd imagine he'd be in the sort of back row jersey on the bench, and maybe Merkler.
I think will probably be on the bench because of the injury to Laulala still. I think there's a chance if they go 6-2 that Josh Brennan could be in that as well. Barassi is probably not going to make a bench spot. It's probably going to be Aki and Kos with one of the outside backs on the bench. Similarly, Capuozzo, probably not going to make the 23. You do have Richie Arnold on the bench, so he will be probably on the bench actually, but he will play. Okay. He'll be in the 23. But
so we think three, and
definitely no starters.
Yeah. Yeah. And you couldn't really, just the gap between the two sides. I mean, in terms of, it has to come down to coaching, doesn't it? Like, how a team with that little experience can go and take on. Okay, they've clearly been a bit all over the place, Montpellier, but you still got to do the business. You still got to do it against Ryan and George Bridge and Van Rensburg and Simmons and all these like massive names.
Sir Fontaine.
It's a serious result for them. Probably, I'd imagine Toulouse is a real bonus. It almost gives them probably gives them a bit more of a buffer for in a few weeks when they get to the last couple of rounds. It's amazing result. I think the thing that also feels like it maybe sums it up nicely is the name escapes me, but Toulouse is 10. Delpy was recalled, I think, from Blognac earlier in the year. He was playing in Nationale when they went
bust.
Whereas poor old Leo Colley, Virat Colley, has he's a scrum half, isn't he? And now he's playing 10. I assume Carbonell's injured. And Montpellier
was on the bench, was he?
They had the infinite wisdom to release Paolo Garbisi earlier in the season. Like, it is bonkers. Not much to say more on that other than I don't know. I think whichever team plays Montpellier in the access match is they're gonna fancy it. It's gonna be a big step up, and you'd think they can now Montpellier can kind of sit back for 2 or 3 weeks and plan their vengeance. But what a shit show.
You referenced one of their star players, who I still think is probably going to be the difference in an access match. But Cobus Reinach had a legit stinker for the first Toulouse try.
Oh, he
fires the 22-meter dropout straight at Toulouse, and then there's a kind of chip from the ensuing ruck that he's chasing back, and just the bounce completely does him, and Toulouse score a try. But he also scored 2 tries in return, just inside balls.
And had a third ruled out for a forward pass as well. I think in the last 10 minutes. So I'm kind of with you. You feel like that's the sort of guy who you don't get many players of that individual quality, do you? Who can rip games open like he does. But don't know, maybe send one of the big men down his channel early doors and see what happens. Fair play to lose. Not something you usually say with their resources, but it's quite an amazing result, that. Elsewhere, Clermont are nudging on the barrage door, aren't they? They've been on a great run, beat Cass fairly convincingly.
There was some pretty average defending in this game, I'd say. But Joris Gironde, who scored a couple of tries in that Challenge Cup semi-final against the Sharks, also scored it. Probably one of the tries of the weekend. It was certainly on the top 5 on the top 14 socials, from a pretty average crossfield kick from Benjamin Urgepageta. And he kind of gathered it, chipped it ahead himself, bit of footwork. Yeah. There was also a heartbreaking moment for Nathaniel Halou. Did you see this?
No, I didn't. This is Halou. So, he's been good. He came from Van, if I made that up.
I think he came from Van, but he's from Grenoble. And I think his brother actually plays for... There's a Halou that plays for Grenoble still, so I assume that's his brother. And he scored like 9 tries this season, but he gathered the ball in his own 22, skinned a couple of people, and is just charging down it's going to be one of the tries of the season. And Etienne Fourcade, the hooker, is running back and hauls him down genuinely. And Halou is stopped about
3 inches short,
less than 1 meter short. Fair play to him for not bottling it or just getting white line fever. Fernandez did literally pick it up and dot it over the line, but just heartbreaking for him. That would have been one of the tries of the season. He absolutely did a couple of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of those ones you're willing him on and you kind of like, oh, it just ruins it slightly. There was a late try in this, which is absolutely key for Claremont because that did give them a bonus point. And it remarkably does keep their chance of spotting the barrage alive. Like that seems we were talking about them as potential relegation 3 weeks ago.
They've turned up. Again, Marcel Michelin looked like it was absolutely bumping. It's just I don't know. It feels like a strong Claremont feels good. So I hope they finish well. Cass season fizzling, my boys fizzling out a little bit. It feels like run out a bit of puff.
I think I saw Jeremy Davidson say we don't deserve to be in the barrage, which kind of feels pretty right. They've not defended very well recently.
Elsewhere in the kind of autonomous communities that absolutely love their rugby derby, Perpignan travelled to Bayonne, and this was pretty tight as well. But I know Bayonne lost at Bordeaux. Sorry, it turned over Bayonne for the first time in about 400 years at the Jean Dagier a couple of weeks back. But they've been sneaking a few results in, and this was 23-20. Again, though, some really nice tries. I don't know if he's been injured or if they just couldn't quite work out where to fit him in. But Reece Hodge on the end of a couple and looked like Reece Hodge, like really strong, really powerful. Pretty elite signing, really.
I'm pretty sure he's been injured. His debut was a real horror show against Glasgow in the game they lost at home in the Champions Cup. He was genuinely awful. Like, looked like he'd possibly landed from a flight from Australia that morning. Sort of awful. But I've always kind of been a bit baffled as to why he's not achieved more, because he's a hell of a talent. I don't know how much he's played at 13 in his career.
No.
And with Martok inside him, a 12 that's just going to run dead straight and fairly robustly, that seems to work quite well because he also runs quite straight and then he'll suddenly shift outside. He looks brilliant. He scored 2 wonderful tries. In the top 14 social actually gave the kind of loop round the back. That was in their top 5. Whereas he scored a lovely set piece, first phase, off the line out on halfway, where he gets the ball back off Tiberium. But he kind of sets it up with the initial hard straight line. He's looking brilliant. But yeah, I think that's kind of quite a nice combo with Martok inside him. Some of the handling in this game was exceptional. And the atmosphere was awesome. Nice. USAP fans singing Peña Bayona. Obviously, both kind of bit of confusion. Are we Spanish? Are we French? Fuck it, let's just sing it all together. And actually, when I was in Perpignan, they did say they have a lot of similarities with the Bayonne fans.
100%, yeah. And there was some wicked footage actually I saw. I think that guy we follow, the USAP Ultra, Thomas, I think there was some great footage from him. It was just all the fans just having an absolute ball of a time, pints flying everywhere, flags everywhere, few pyros. Yeah, great. And as you said, I mean, I don't know, it feels like probably the two hottest tickets, maybe bar La Rochelle in French rugby, to go to a live game in those 2 spots. Means that, I mean, it's not totally inconceivable that, Bayonne are on 52 points, Racing in 6th on 57, but probably a bit of a stretch. Perpignan, again, little bit of a stretch to make that top 6 after a couple of losses, but they're only 2 points behind Clermont and Pau, so who knows? They've had
that's mad, isn't it? That they're only 1 win behind Racing. Yeah,
incredible stuff. I think they've won the same number of games as Racing. They've won 12. Yeah, well, Clermont have won 11, but they've drawn 2, which is quite good going. Moving on, Lyon Racing. I only saw a little bit of this. Quiyu scored like his 120th try of the season.
There was a lot of very, very Lyon stuff in this. Like, there was a good finish from Baptiste Quiyu. There was a few electric breaks from Niniashvili. There was them taking apart the Racing scrum. Birdo kicked everything. Like, it kind of was a very Lyon performance. There was a bit of a shambles at the end. So Racing were kind of camped in Lyon's 22 from about 75 minutes until 85 minutes. It went on that long. And Lyon properly gifted them a 5 metre pen. Like, tried to run it out, got turned over, then back chat. And it's on the 5 metre line. Freddie Michalak needs to improve his 3 fingers in the air game. It was very, very meek. Him and Dmitry Zarzewski looked good, but they looked very concerned. But Michalak's 3 fingers in the air, he could take a lot from kind of a Christophe Urios or a Greg Patat maybe, or a Sebastian Picarones. I always think looks quite sinister with his 3 fingers in the air. Michalak kind of just shrugged and was like, okay, well, do what you want then. But, I mean, they had a couple of chances to score in that period where they looked like they had openings and they bottled it, really. Not like glaringly obvious, but they should have scored. And they were complaining about the ball being stripped, but it was legit. There was never a try. Fiku looked apoplectic, but there was nothing in it. I thought they just don't think they're very good.
Yeah, got some potato smileys in the oven there, Rob. Just heard something pinging.
Yeah.
Fair, but I mean, doesn't change too much, does it? Leon are safe. Racing are kind of clinging on, but just flattering to deceive a bit.
Well, Racing's next 2 games, as I kind of texted you excitedly, are Po at home and La Rochelle away. So that's the team above them and the team below them. And they are only 1 point ahead of Po. I can see Po getting a result, or at least a bonus point. And then Po have got someone fairly out. I think they've got Perpignan at home on the last weekend. Yeah, I can't see Racing going to La Rochelle with a bit more rest, full noise, pack. I can't see that being successful for Racing. So plenty to run on the top 6 still.
Yeah, although I think, well, in the end it was quite interesting, but La Rochelle for large parts in their game against Po were pretty dominant.
Back to their best, it looked like they had a real kick up the arse.
Bit of a rocket, yeah. But conceded 1 penalty try and another try in the last 6 minutes or something. So Po get a losing bonus, which again keeps them in the hunt.
It also denied Racing the attacking bonus. So before that, it was La Rochelle the attacking bonus, because it reduced their margin to below 3. So kind of a double win for Po keeps them pretty. We'd actually, because I kind of had it on my phone as we were drinking soju turbocharged beer. And I turned off after the final La Rochelle try. I was like, Po have blown this. But I thought La Rochelle looked really good at times. Po did really well to come back into it. There was on commentary un cadeau for Jules Favre from Elliot Rudil trying to keep the ball in, and in trying to keep the ball in, he kind of fell flat on his back, and the ball was just there on a plate for Jules Favre. Well, there was another game. I think it was the Oyonnax Toulon game where
Toulon,
we had a repeat of the
Penaud. Yeah. Yeah, it was class. Almost even more ridiculous because it was right.
He was looking at him,
but the furthest kind of. It was just nestled between, on the kind of right angle of both dead ball lines. Good to see Rob Howley, Greg Aldrit. The try scorer was Mensah, which I thought was quite amusing. Clever play. Well, hey. And then Stade Francais, Bordeaux. I think we both caught a bit of this actually. Really good, really very good win for Stade Francais, given they've been wobbling a little bit recently. Certainly doesn't confirm a home draw, but gets them a lot closer. Thought they were great from what I saw. Defence is so well organised. I think it's the best in the league, isn't it, in terms of points and tries conceded. But they have been taking a bit of a dusting the last few weeks. So fair play to them to getting their stuff together. Your man Sagons controlled things really nicely.
He looked good. He looked way more attacking.
Ward is like flavour of the month. Everyone he's class. Just seems to keep producing big performances.
Marchand played really well as well.
He did, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, he's great. I prefer him. He was at 13, wasn't he? I just think you get more from him, particularly in that kind of like outside centre, defensive marshal. Really good. Bordeaux, I thought, loath to criticise given how explosive they can be. Yeah, they can peel teams open from anywhere. Just on one too many occasions, it felt like really forcing it a phase or two too early. And then I think once they were kind of 8 points behind or whatever it was in the last 10, and they really had to force it, they just kind of played into their hands a little bit. Like, Tamway was beating the first man, but they're getting ushered into touch. There was probably about 6 miracle balls too many. Few instances where I think it's Andrew Mertens who kind of co-commentates. Just saying, I think he was spot. I mean, as you'd expect from Andrew Mertens, knows his shit about attacking rugby. They're just getting a little bit in each other's way and maybe overcomplicating things somewhat. But yeah, Stade Francais, great work. This also had a brilliant menacing 3-finger salute. Did you see that? Yannick Brou, when they got the penalty in the last 10 minutes. Jalibert is 100%. They're all pointing to the corner. And Yannick Brou, like veins bulging out of that kind of Dr. Spock bald head. And these, trois. But it was sort of almost a bit disconnected. It was like that one. It wasn't that. It was superb.
Full Wolverine claw.
Yeah, very good.
I thought Jalibert. It's interesting that they switched back to Jalibert as a kicker. I wonder if he's not been kicking because of his knee, because it's heavily strapped. But as soon as he started, I mean, he's a brilliant kicker. As soon as he started kicking, somebody started kicking some goals, which was useful. And his pace, he's so quick. Like the try that the first try they scored it all comes from him. And you talk about they can strike from anywhere. Like they had that try chalked off just before half time. Just after half time, which was a quite clear forward pass from Tapwide, but still showed like how quickly they can strike. I've got a couple of questions for you on this.
Okay,
might be for another time, but it was kind of thrust into my mind in this game. What is your view on Yoram Moefana?
It's a good question. I think he's quite good, but flatters to deceive a little bit. Maybe not quite as high end as some of his compatriots, either when it comes to like real Bosch centre or angles. I think he's a very, very high class club player, whether he's kind of the missing piece in that midfield with Dante going off the boil for France. Maybe not yet. He's still quite young though, isn't he, Moefana?
Yeah. I think
diplomatic response for now.
Yeah,
he also had a massive blow up. Do you see it? When was it Jalibert like popped one just directly into his face? Moefana was literally not looking. He thought the ball was going elsewhere. They
nearly scored from that, didn't they? Stade Francais. I think when you talk about like the clunkiness and the slightly erratic nature of their attack, it's quite often him. I think he's just a little bit. He needs a little bit more composure, maybe. Generally, but he's obviously talented. I still haven't worked him out, to be honest. My other question: who do you think was the quickest player on display? So you've got Bordeaux's back three was Maros Tamwe, Biel Biarre, and Penno, and then you've got Marchand, you've got Lester Etienne, but you've got Makalu.
Yeah,
I don't think it's any of them.
Do you think it's Dakawanga?
I think it's Dakawanga.
He's rapid, isn't he?
Because there was one bit where BLBRA, like, he's doing an outside break on BLBRA and he is making ground on BLBRA, even though he's like carrying the ball. I thought, wow, that is. And also, we obviously saw that try earlier on in the season.
Yeah, was that where BLBRA like wrapped him up though, just short of the line?
Eventually,
because he's done a lot of that recently. So I actually think he's chased a lot of guys down. He did it in that game. They then turned it over and went the length. Penot, I can't remember. Claremont. I was probably going to say, I reckon in a straight line over 100 meters, maybe BLBRA. Makalou is so fast.
Yeah.
Back, I still find it back. I know, like, Rumat's a great player, but I just think if you have someone like that come off the bench, I don't know. I think
100%.
He's special. Sort of guy who I think is probably unfairly tarred for almost being a bit too flair. Like, people just don't like it, do they?
He fluffed his lines in the early days for France. I think there was a lot of drop balls and stuff.
And I know he didn't have his best game, but I love Tambwe. Like, I think he's unbelievable. And also over, that first 10 meters or whatever, I'd say he's probably the quickest off the mark. So yeah, there you go. I've said basically all of them.
I'm going Dakawanga.
Yeah, we'll see if we can arrange
over 50. Race. Over 50.
We'll see if we can. We'll arrange a race like that odd guy who's trying to make the like drug Olympics. We'll get some VC funding for the top 14 sports day 100-meter race. Shall we pause there and we can come back, because I know you're champing at the bit to get into Pro Day there.
Indeed.
Last Friday then, final round of the Pro Day, the regular season, round 30, and remarkable, really. We sort of followed. I don't think either of us are brave enough to get one of those dodgy, like, streaming fire sticks, are we? So we kind of followed this via various live texts and Twitter feeds and Instagram posts, but there was a huge amount on the line at both ends of the table, or namely the bottom and the middle kind of chunk with the for the barrage, and it didn't disappoint. Where do you want to start? Where do we go with this?
I think start before the start of play, as it were. So at the bottom, Montauban needed a win to have any chance of staying up. Biarritz above them in 14th, a losing bonus point, could have saved them if Montauban won, but a loss certainly made it quite dangerous. Rouen needed a win and to hope that the other two both tripped up, or Montauban tripped up. They couldn't catch Biarritz. Top six, Brive, who are playing Biarritz, needed a bonus point to guarantee sixth, and a win could likely get them sixth. Mont-de-Marsan needed a bonus point win to overtake Brive. Nevers needed Brive and Mont-de-Marsan to not win with a bonus point. And for them to get their own bonus point. And we basically, at various points during the evening, had every single one of those scenarios play out, apart from a Biarritz win and Rouen winning or not winning, but certainly drawing.
It was mad. Should we start then? So Aurillac Montauban.
Yeah,
that's probably the simplest in the equation, and it's simple in the sense that Montauban lost, so it's out of their hands. So they are. So Montauban lose at Aurillac, who didn't have a huge amount to play for, but just a ball ache of a place to go and try and win.
Scored a hell of a try for like within the first few minutes from their own 5 metre line. The drama here was that Montauban scored with 30 seconds left. I think I didn't see the kick. I assume they just took it, and then kind of there was just enough time to restart, basically. So they did collect the ball and eventually got stripped. And then you had some kind of comedy of some big lumps trying to get it off the field for Aurillac, which was quite amusing.
Excellent.
And immediately the camera pans to the coaches on the sideline watching the Rouen game on their phones.
On their phone, I saw that. Yeah. There was that. That happened. We'll talk about that a bit. There are a couple of other places like that, but that was class. So Montauban lose. It's out of their hands. They're definitely either in the access match with Nationale or they're down. Do we there go to
Rouen
next? Right. So what didn't happen here?
Well, a lot happened in the first 20 minutes. Mont-de-Marsan were 26-3 up with 19 minutes played. So that at that point, they've got their bonus point win, which potentially gets them into 6th. And then Rouen are down. Like, they're getting hammered. Some brilliant tries from Mont-de-Marsan as well. They've played some real flair rugby all season. Langivalu was particularly good this week. And then there's a couple of Rouen tries before half-time, takes it 26-17. And then Ramota Tabua, who we'll hear a bit more of later, scores on 48 minutes. And at that point, it's 31-17. So 5 tries for Mont-de-Marsan, 2 for Rouen. So Rouen are losing, but also Mont-de-Marsan have their bonus point. There's then an interception and then a driving maul follows that. 31-all. After about 60 minutes, it was suddenly like you just texted me like, what is happening?
Yeah, I was sort of following along on various, say like Twitter or X and like all the kind of like Eurosport live text updates and all this sort of stuff. And then it was 31-all for ages. And then on the thing, I think I actually took a few screenshots. It was like 31-all, 79 minutes. 31-all, 80 minutes. Still 31-all in the 82nd minute. It's like, what is going on here? And yeah, do you want to kind of, arguably this is the most ridiculous moment of the entire weekend.
So Rouen get a penalty in the 82nd, 83rd minute. And it's not easy, is it?
It's basically a touchline conversion, but further out. Maybe
and
a
kind
few
of
meters in from the touchline, but
yeah, and just a bit nearer than the 40-meter line. The kick looks quite good for quite a lot of its distance. Just misses. Mont-de-Marsan still thinking that a win might kind of get them up. Run it from deep. And basically, eventually the ball finds its way to Ramota to Tabua, who hits the Jets and streaks away under the posts, and Mont-de-Marsan win 38-31. That wasn't in the top 5 tries.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
For this week.
It's the guy is so
hat-trick
fast.
Try for number 8.
It's the 83rd minute of like a crucial match as well. That clearly everyone is completely shagged, basically. And it's like we were talking about Makalu a minute ago. It was like it was just ridiculous. And the bloke's like a house as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's him who I'm pretty certain to go to Oyonnax. I think he signed which looks like a pretty handy signing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he's been great.
Rouen, just it's gutting, isn't it? Because I mean, they were dead and buried about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and they've just like chipped away. And that kick, they wouldn't definitely be up. They'd be in the access match, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And we're talking like it's a pretty wild comeback that. But Montauban lives to fight another day. He was playing for Rouen. I don't know how I've missed him on the team sheet because he's played pretty much every game.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Will Whitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Could be playing in Nationale. It feels like a player that's probably still too good for Nationale.
Okay, so Rouen are down.
Rouen are
Mont-de-Marsan have
down.
a slim
Mont-de-Marsan
chance. So do we go to Nevers?
No, Mont-de-Marsan are done because they haven't got a bonus point at this point.
Okay, so they're done.
Having had one for a large part of the game, and it looked like they were cruising it.
So let's head to Nevers, who take on Dax, who'd already qualified.
Yeah, and this was a pretty tight game for a lot of it. 14-13 at the 53-minute mark, 21-16 at 70 minutes. There was a red on 53 minutes for Dax. I haven't seen either of them.
Oh my God, the forearm smash.
Oh.
Jean-Baptiste Singer, he just like a proper, there's like a bit of a coming together and he just clobbers the bloke with his forearm in the face, and looks devastated because he's probably, I'd imagine his season's done for that.
Yeah.
Not the brightest move you'll ever see.
And there was another one on 70 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I saw on like the score sheet there was a, I think it was the second row. It was the second row and a back row. Yeah.
Probably not where you want to be losing ahead of an access match against Grenoble, but never mind. They've also basically started like all season, both of them. But that allows Nevers to rack up the bonus point at the 70-minute mark. And you're thinking that Dax is down to 13, game done. No, 13-man Dax, score on 76 minutes, taking it to 28-23, which puts Nevers not in sixth because they've now lost their chance of a bonus point. However, 86 minutes, there is some sort of weird, like in that Nevers are attacking, and there's like an arm, like a kind of plays the 9 arm grab. Have you seen the real error?
I don't know if I've seen the error. I've seen kind of what happens. Like everyone stops, don't they? And the ref, and the guy just sort of picks it up and waddles through.
So Nevers have the ball. The guy playing halfback is not the halfback, but he gets caught. Ball goes loose. Dax pick it up. Dax then get turned over, or it spills out the ruck, and the guy picks it up and runs in. Nevers score. That gives them a bonus point again. However, the referee blew his whistle before the guy got to the line, which is the real rogue bit about this, because they then check to see if there's a knock-on or a penalty from the incident of the ball getting caught, and they just award the try because he's happy with it. He's happy there's no knock-on. But he can't award the try because he's already blown the whistle, yeah. Anyway, at this point, so that is enough drama anyway in a kind of regular league game. That gives Nevers the bonus point in the 86th minute, and there they are thinking, we've got a bonus point win. We've done what we needed. We're getting the barrage spot. We're getting sixth.
There's guys like in the crowd, aren't there, and stuff. They've like hurled themselves in. It's all hell is breaking loose. But is there a sting in the tail, Rob?
There is, because I think I texted you around the halfway, around half time, saying, as things stand, Montauban are getting sixth. Breathe on, because they haven't got a bonus point, and Mont-de-Marsan have. Breathe then have had a late charge, and in the 83rd minute, scored their bonus point try. So probably around, I think actually on what we were following it on live sport or whatever it was, it seemed to be a little bit later, but it's pretty much around the same time that the debacle over the Nevers final try is happening. Breathe are scoring a final try to secure them a bonus point and to secure them the sixth spot. It is drama after drama after drama. Hopefully we've kind of captured the layers of the drama there, but it's until you kind of sit down for about 4 hours in a dark room, you kind of can't quite get your head around quite what happened.
Yeah, and particularly in that like last 10 minutes of essentially it's come down to the last overtime in 2 games in the 30th week. which is remarkable, really. Like just awesome. Some wicked stories and tease it up so nicely. Just there were 4 other games, but we don't really care too much. Provon and Van were already guaranteed a home semi. Provon dusted Grenoble pretty convincingly, which is good, or good for them rather. Van lost away at Agen,
which we predicted.
We did predict a rare victory there. Ultimate dead rubber, Colomiers, Valence Roman, but I don't think Valence Roman have won away all season, and they picked
we got that one wrong because
in the Toulouse suburbs. And then just a little nice icing on the cake. Soyo Angoulême, our boy Saxby,
wearing my hat to celebrate.
Big win at home. Stade Chanzy against Béziers, who obviously have a home barrage match. Saxby as well, repping the 10-year anniversary of their Invincibles team, which I assume was the Invincibles in
Nationale, I'd imagine, yeah.
In like a very nice kind of gold blackened, I'd describe it as like dairy milk purple kind of kit.
Yeah.
Very, very fair.
And an old school logo. The kind of pre-digital era, slightly pre-digital era logo.
Well, it was sort of straddling the digital era. It wasn't like a real heritage logo. It was kind of like a word art logo. Like it's not... but it did look, the whole package was very good. So we're done, Pro Leader. 2 massive games, Thursday and Friday. So the first one, let me remember. Thursday. Well, it's two grounds you've been to this season, Rob. Grenoble played Dax. I would probably, if I was a betting man, other than the odd flutter on Cheltenham once a year, I would probably be lumping on Grenoble.
I think the 2 red cards are pretty key for Dax, aren't they? To lose anyone isn't great, but to lose your second row and your 6 isn't great. Who knows with Nocera? Could make anything happen. But Grenoble, apart from, there was a bit of a beatdown actually away at Provence, but they've been really on the charge. Massive ground. I'm intrigued to see how many tickets they sell for it.
Yeah, because they've been getting up over sort of 13,000, I think, or getting towards that number. I think
which is only about half 20. Capacity, yeah. So that'd be interesting. I think they're too powerful. Also, they've won 19 games this year. They're only not got a home semi through the points deduction, which I need to read into it, but they've appealed against. Belatedly, there's been some sort of, I saw they put a statement out, and my French reading is obviously terrible, but it was words the effect of part of the judgment was that the LNR or the kind of financial authority type, the LNR that made the choice or made the decision, was part of the justification was they didn't think Grenoble were going to would be near a home semi-final. So it was sort of an immaterial punishment. Whether I'm sure there's a bit of translation work that needs there, but they're clearly they're clearly not happy about it. But I think Grenoble probably win out on that. Friday night, I think I'd rather have Dax than Brive.
I think so. Béziers, Brive.
I think I'm going Brive. Yeah. I think if you look at Béziers' results, the last few rounds, not great away at Saxby. The game at home to Nevers, the one that I was at, they weren't impressive at all and snatched the last try. They lost away at Grenoble before that. They lost away at Aurillac before that. So they're not in a great run at all.
No.
Whereas Brive are the kind of exact opposite almost. They've obviously come off the high of last week of the kind of last minute bonus point to get them into 6th. They beat Van away, Fortress Van, as according to Zach, the week before.
When it mattered as well. There was
when
a
it
lot on that
mattered,
game.
yeah. So they're coming into it in good form. They've got all the big names that they could have. I keep thinking Brive have got I don't know, Tuisova and Randrandra in midfield, but they don't quite, do they? It's relative big names. But Sam Johnson's played a lot of international rugby, as has Ross Moriarty.
Yeah, there's
Stuart Olding. Let's probably not talk about that, but yeah.
And then they've got, Carbonneau's class, and
their youngsters are very, very good. Yeah,
yeah. So Ferte on the wing or fullback, wherever he's playing. I think Brive maybe come out in that as much as I'd rather Béziers. I would quite. I don't know. I want to go to Brive, but I want to go to Brive and Pro Day there because the flight from Stansted gets in on a Thursday, and you might have to wait for 3 days for your match if they go back up.
Also, Brive love a Thursday evening game. I reckon they play really way more Thursday evenings than anyone else.
100%. I reckon they're probably about quarter of their games this year have been on a Thursday night. Ironically, not this one. And also it would just be great to have in that last four a team that hasn't been in the top 14 for quite a while, I think.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I reckon Brive might have a bit too much.
And it'd be interesting to see how many they sell out, because pretty good effort a couple of weeks ago to get nearly 12,000. I'd imagine they'll go pretty hard at it again, Béziers. So, it's a hell of an atmosphere, and that is enough to put off any team, the kind of how raucous that atmosphere at Béziers is.
You also might, because there's no top 14, there's no other Nationale Pro Day there. If you're in Perpignan, Narbonne, wherever, you might sneak along. So, it's
Montpellier.
Exciting. Montpellier, exactly. If you are fed up of just watching your team get pumped in front of an empty stadium, your team of Galacticos get hammered.
Go scout out your potential opposition to the access match.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think, not much more to talk about. 2 games to come. The only other thing I was going to mention was there will be a new name for the first time in Pro Day. Stade Niçois beat Narbonne over in Chambéry. Did you see any of this?
I haven't seen any of it, no. But I've got some history on Stade Niçois.
So I haven't got any history on Stade Niçois. I caught a little bit of this. They sort of streamed it, and there were some patchy highlights and things. It's 39-30, but it was really close. I think it was 32-30, and they scored with, if not the last play, they played, and then there was a kickoff, and then it was pumped into touch. So just a moment towards the end, just before that try. So the last try was like a pushover in the corner. Narbonne have an attacking scrum about 30 meters out on the right-hand touchline, in the last 2 minutes, get a free kick against them for a pre-engage. The ball is then, I think there's then a descent penalty, or they march upfield and then there's a penalty. The guy, fair play, goes for broke, bangs it right in the corner. And I think what's happened is the Narbonne fullback is convinced it's gone dead. And the linesman, or the touch judge rather, who's flagged for 5 meter line out, the guy's caught the ball and just booted it as far as he can, infield. So rather than the line out, the ref just gives a penalty right in front on the 5 meter line, to which ironically he then turns around and just sticks it into touch, and they roll over. But it's a full, this guy is just having, I think, incensed still from the free kick, just full meltdown, and you can see all his mates what are you doing? It's excellent, just a lovely bit of stroppiness. Whether he'll be picked for the access match against Montauban, who knows, but that's pretty cool as well.
So Stade Niçois were founded in 2012 when Nice Côte d'Azur Université Racing was liquidated. and they were originally Racing Rugby Club de Nice in 1912. So the legacy teams have been in the top 14. Racing Rugby Club de Nice was, and lost in the top 14 final to Béziers in 1983. Their 10th of their 11 in 13 years when Béziers were the boys. But Stade Niçois won Fédéral 2 in 2017, 2018. So they presumably, Nice Côte d'Azur Université Racing has been liquidated in 2012. 6 years later, they're winning Fédéral 2. And then you've got 3 years later, 4 years, 6 years later, they're 3 leagues higher or 4 leagues higher. So pretty impressive rise. Clearly a bit of appetite, maybe a bit of cash knocking around.
Yeah,
I was thinking
like a proper setup as well. They've got quite a strong academy and things like that.
The Eagles, I think they are. But I don't know about you, but I've come across about 4 people within the last week that are going on holiday to Nice, and as we do these days, got asked for recommendations, and I've said to basically everyone, well, when we went to Nice, it was full of Welsh people and English people because we were there during the World Cup, and genuinely don't think I've got any recommendations for Nice other than, especially one of my colleagues doesn't drink, and also his wife apparently. So he's got a lovely boat trip around the Calanques National Park near Marseille. So he's doing a load of stuff on the south coast. So he's asking me for Nice and Marseille recommendations, but they don't drink, and also his wife can't swim. So I was kind of very, very short on recommendations.
Go on holiday somewhere else.
No, it's just just kind of eat the local cuisine is kind of the.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure he'll have a great time. It is beautiful. A lot of the places he's doing the full lot. He's doing like Menton, as all the bits in and around Cannes. He's doing the whole kind of Côte d'Azur stretch. Really, I assume it's a honeymoon, maybe, but yeah,
very agreeable. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I would love to go. I mean, this opens up some lovely little trips. Maybe a Stade Niçois.
I think that's what I was teeing up, Richard. Yeah.
For future reference, but Nice, as you say, it was overtaken by lots of English, lots of Welsh, lots of people going to Wayne's Bar in the middle of Nice. But it's just a really cool city. We did go to. I
was going to say Barrique, but that's the wine bar. We can't. That wine bar pre-game was very nice. Barrique.
We can't really. Nice bars. Well, look, there you go. We're gonna have to go, aren't we? So as not to disappoint the masses in future.
Le Chapco, the live music bar, that was quite good fun. I think Osama and his wife would enjoy that, I reckon.
Yeah, that was good in there with the really aggy barman. Do you remember
miserable
that bloke?
Really miserable.
Proper, like if you sort of accidentally missed your go, it was basically going to knock you out and then serve someone else. He was, good bar though. Right, Pro de Nationale wrapped up. There is something quite big happening this weekend, so we'll preview that in just a sec. Righto, no Pro de this Saturday. Not there would be, but no proper round of fixtures. No top 14 this Saturday, and no Nationale this Saturday. There is, however, the small issue of the Champions Cup final, as we said earlier, which is taking place in Tottenham, isn't it? Leinster v Toulouse, I think, as much as my dark horse Bordeaux fell, I think you would be hard pressed not to say the two best sides in the tournament, probably by a bit of a distance as well. We've spoken a bit about it before the semi-finals, but what do you reckon? Well, what are you saying? Difficult to know where to start.
In short, heart says Toulouse. I think head and gut really says Leinster. I think there's a few elements So Leinster have had Toulouse's number in the Champions Cup in recent years. However, those have all been in Dublin, I'm pretty sure. So obviously neutral territory potentially helps. However, I think the Nienaber effect of getting a team up for a big occasion could be quite key. It's good, like the coaching at Toulouse, as we saw at the weekend with those the kids basically playing away at Montpellier. Like they are so in the groove at the moment as a team, and like it is coaching, and it is, it's not as they are just so well drilled, and the tactics they got right a lot against Harlequins. Like their counter-rucking is so good and so well timed, but I just think maybe, as we kind of said after the Northampton game, that Leinster defence looks horrible to play against.
Yeah, it does. I think because Leinster they haven't run away with too much, have they? They beat La Rochelle pretty convincingly, but I think, as we said, like this, it's not the La Rochelle that won back to back and got to made 3 finals in a row. Regardless of the personnel, they just haven't played that well. They weren't utterly convincing when they beat Leicester, and in the end, they only beat Northampton by what was it, 3 points or something?
Yeah,
I do think though that was a little bit, in a way, wasn't quite reflective of how good Leinster were for big chunks of that, particularly defensively. They're a little bit sloppy. A couple of like 1 or 2 of the tries they conceded, but my big worry for Toulouse coming out of the semi-final was just how leaky they were at times in that second half, and it looked like guys who were, to be honest, I don't know, blowing is probably the word I'd use.
Who are you calling out? Name names.
Oh, I was like, just all the big lads, really. I think it was just before Miafu got hooked. I think, it was that kind of point before the big guys go off. I can't remember exactly, but it was the Tyrone Green try where they run it back and then they scramble really well and then just don't get into the line, albeit it was class from Green. I'm kind of with you. Heart to lose. I do still think, as much as I sometimes think Leinster's attack doesn't get the plaudits it deserves. They're kind of painted as quite robotic, and I think that's almost just because they're so effective. Like that front row can do all of the flair stuff that by Malvaca. Well, certainly Furlong's got a bit more in his locker than Aldegheri has. I think it's going to be tight. I think for me, ideal scenario is I would love Toulouse to sneak it, and it's maybe just some sort of mad bit of DuPont magic that does it. A little bit like
stripping the ball off Kane Doris and running 20 metres. Yeah, the Entrées try last year
against La Rochelle, something like that. And but it should be an absolute cracker. There's still tickets going for it as well for anyone who's
mental
based. It should be amazing.
But you say Leinster are quite robotic. I think Ross Byrne as a 10 is quite a robotic fly half. He's a very shifty. There's not loads of natural flair or pace there, is there? Especially compared to Entrées.
But I don't think Leinster. I think they are sometimes they look more robotic than they are. Like I think they've been class for so long. They can score from anywhere as well. I'm always gammy about matchups. I think they're way too overhyped, but Gibson Park and DuPont feels spicy. It'd be interesting to see how they get on, because Gibson Park, like arguably it's probably, if you can stop, if both nines are cancelled out, I think it probably has more of an effect on Leinster. I think Gibson Park is, as you say, with Ross Byrne, who's very experienced, but ultimately a little bit more in the steady Eddie category. If they can stop Gibson Park, who kind of pulls everything, they'll have a chance.
Well, I think on that, so just on Ross Burn to finish up on that, we kind of mentioned it after the semi-final. Ramos will play, and he's the best goal kicker in the world right now. Almost huge, objectively. Yeah. Whereas Burn missed a few. He missed a few last year in the final as well, I think. That could be key. But on your point on Gibson Park, and I was going to make the point that, you know, the X Factor player really is Miarthur. I think he's just such a physical beast over and above anyone else on that pitch. But you mentioned that Gibson Park is kind of more key, but actually it could be like the breakdown and the ruck and the cleanliness of ball generally. And I think if Leinster slow down ball and disrupt at the base, Tony D is almost his USP is now to kind of be able to get out of that and to make it irrelevant. You know, we saw France without him in the Six Nations really struggle, where before they were fine because he's good enough to make something happen. Whereas I don't think with that Toulouse counter-rucking game and those three workhorses in the back row, if they disrupt or slow down some ball for Leinster, then that could really stop them at the source, because I don't think Gibson Park doesn't have that aura or magic of Tony D. If there is slow or scrappy or disrupted ball at the base.
Yeah, maybe not. I also I think maybe the area that Leinster do have the upper hand, as effective as Toulouse's back row is in the back row, and they look like they're singing as well. Like Van der Fleer seems to be coming back into form. Doris maybe hasn't quite hit his heights, but so consistent. If Ryan Baird starts, I think he is ridiculous.
I think he's getting too much hype for what his output has been. I think he's a flat track bully.
I'm not convinced by that. I also think Conan off the bench, he's hugely underrated in my book. He's so good.
But you got Castro, my boy Castro, coming off the bench.
Yeah,
sniffing around for tries.
Yeah, I wonder actually if they might go like put Doris at 6 and go Conan at 8. Pretty steady that. Right, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so you know what I'm going to say. We're a French rugby podcast, Rob. I'm going to go Toulouse by 5, a single try.
I'll go Toulouse by 4. That isn't just to be inside you. I think it's just that is your point on a late Tony D bit of magic, just to steal a win in a tight game. It'll plainly be Leinster by like 15. Never mind.
Yeah, it could be. It's going to be class. Can't wait. Petit fours haven't got too much this week. There's too much actual rugby going on.
Struggling.
We've got a couple of minutes left. So what have you got?
Ned Hannigan is going to Provence. That's the big headline.
That is big.
A player who's looked largely ineffectual in my time watching him, but who knows? It's different. He's got caps for Australia. He must be decent.
I think so. Jimmy Gopper, 500 professional matches.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Game. It's pretty cool. And he's staying next year, isn't he? Didn't he sign an extension?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What a hero.
Sarlat overturned JOP Conflon Canigou.
Oh no.
23-9, overturning their 10-point deficit. So Sarlat, who won their Federal de Pool, go through to the quarterfinals, which is another 2-legged affair. Tried to do some digging on Biarritz without much success, on the fact that they are going to send a convoy of Basque cheesecake to the Cantal, being the region that Aurillac is in, to say thank you for their win over Montauban.
Is that legit?
Jumper I'm wearing. Yeah. There was an interview with one of the back rowers, and he's like, we're going to send a convoy of Gâteau de Basque, which I assume is Basque cheesecake. But they've also the new director's been dragged in front of the Autorité de Régulation de Rugby, And I don't think you need too much translation there to work out what that body represents. But basically just waiting for the bank guarantees and a few of the documents for the sale. And the new directors have said, well, we want to make sure it's legit. We don't want to, we're not. It seems a bit weird that it's dragging to me, but
it's been a complete
I think they're trying not
it?
to compromise the sale.
God, it's so messy.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're pretty much there. I did have the outline of a potential final kind of double header of the season, but I don't think we've got time to go through it. So maybe we'll save it when we know who the Pro Day Day finalists are, because spoiler alert, it does include a day in our favourite city, Toulouse, watching the Pro Day Day final, and then a not too inconvenient train to watch what could be an absolute cracker. And even if it isn't a cracker, it could be a very historic game. So you'll have to tune in next week to find out what that is. Any closing thoughts, Rob?
I would quite like a convoy of Basque cheesecake sent my way. Gladly.
I'll see what I can arrange. And Alley Toulouse, I think Alley Toulouse and Alley Dax, the underdog at Grenoble. Brilliant. I've been Richard. That has been Rob. We've been the Rosbifs Rugby Podcast. You can follow us on all the usual stuff. Enjoy the Champions Cup final, Pro Day de Barrage, and we'll see you next week. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly.